For a moment, the world was quiet. The alien fleet, once so confident and loud, now hung motionless in orbit. Their once impenetrable shields flickered and died. Half of their ships drifted lifelessly, dark and smoking. But Earth did not celebrate. In underground bunkers, in command centers buried under mountains and oceans, human commanders were just beginning their counterattack. Status report. Commander Rain demanded inside the subterranean war room of Fort Exodus, a command hub, hidden deep under the Rockies. All Sentinel units are online, said Lieutenant Voss, her voice sharp but tense. Energy grids are at 95%. Orbital defense systems are fully charged. The room vibrated faintly as another energy pulse discharged from one of Earth's deep defense silos, frying 3 alien destroyers that had tried to reboot their engines. They came here thinking we were weak, Rain said coldly. Now they will learn the truth. The hidden war machines for decades, humanity had hidden its real weapons from the world. The governments of Earth had agreed on one secret pact: no alien threat shall catch us unprepared. Hidden under oceans, deserts, and ice caps were massive AI-controlled warships. Known only to a handful of people as the Black Sentinels, they were not like ordinary ships. Each Sentinel was a city-sized machine, armed with railguns that could fire projectiles. At 10 times the speed of sound, plasma cannons powerful enough to cut through an asteroid, and stealth fields that made them invisible to most scanners. But their deadliest weapon was the pulse, a planet-wide electromagnetic burst that could overload any alien ship's core, regardless of its shield strength. The awakening of Helios 1. Of the Sentinels stirred beneath the Pacific Ocean, buried under 12 kilometers of water and steel. Sentinel Helios powered up for the first time in nearly 30 years, inside its AI core. Systems came alive, main batteries online. Targeting systems active. Command link established. The ocean erupted as Helios rose to the surface, water cascading down its armored black hole. Its massive frame dwarfed the alien ships hovering above the ocean from Fort Exodus. Rain gave the order. Helios fire. Brilliant railgun blast cut through the clouds, punching through 3 alien cruisers in a single shot. The ships split apart, burning as they fell toward the ocean. The alien commanders rage and board, the harbinger of dawn. Supreme Commander Zoreth slammed his clawed hands against the console. What is happening? This planet was supposed to be primitive. How do they have this technology? Commander said, his second officer nervously. They're energy weapons. They're beyond anything we've encountered. It's like they've studied us. Zoreth's eyes glowed red with fury. Then we burn them faster. Prepare all plasma batteries. We'll destroy this entire hemisphere if we must. Alien fleet prepared another strike. Their sensors detected 6 more massive power signatures rising from Earth's surface. What now? Zoreth growled. Commander, it's more of their ships. Big ones. The rise of the Sentinels from the deserts of Nevada. Sentinel Ares roared into the sky, its engines shaking the ground for miles. From the icy depths of Antarctica, Sentinel Kronos tore free from its frozen hangar, trailing storms of snow and lightning. From the Indian Ocean, Sentinel Orion emerged like a black leviathan, its plasma cannons glowing bright red dot. By the 15-minute mark of the invasion, 7 Black Sentinels had taken flight, surrounding Earth like silent giants. The first counterstrike targets locked, Voss reported. Rain's gaze hardened. Fire all Sentinels. Helios, Ares, and Kronos fired simultaneously. Helios's railgun shot punched a hole through the Harbinger's side. Ares's plasma cannons melted a group of alien frigates into glowing slag. Kronos launched a missile swarm, tearing apart an alien carrier that had been preparing a planetary strike in less than 4 minutes. The alien fleet lost another 200 ships. Earth's hidden AI commander Rain said, a cold, synthetic voice. Behind him, it was Erebus, the AI core that linked all Sentinels together. Erebus spoke with mechanical precision. Analysis complete. Alien fleet is at 43% capacity. We can eliminate them in 5 minutes if escalation protocols are approved. Rain looked at Voss. Escalation protocols. Voss hesitated. It means unleashing the full arsenal, sir, including the Omega Lance. Rain thought for a moment, then nodded. Approved. End this. The Omega lands high above Earth, a massive orbital cannon activated. The Omega Lance had been humanity's last resort weapon, a linear accelerator that could fire a tungsten rod at near light speed, targeting the alien flagship, Erebus reported. The Harbinger of Dawn, once the pride of the Tharkan fleet, is now locked in the crosshairs of Earth's most devastating weapon, Zoroth's desperations. Voice echoed across his flagship. All ships, retreat. Retreat now. But it was too late. A bright flash filled the void as the Omega Lance fired. Tungsten projectile tore through the Harbinger's shields like they were paper, slicing through the ship's core. The flagship exploded in a storm of fire and shattered metal, its fragments scattering across orbit. The message as the alien fleet scrambled in chaos. A new voice filled every comm channel. This is Commander Rain of Earth's Sentinel Fleet. Your invasion is over. You have 60 seconds to leave our orbit, or we will erase every one of your ships. The voice was calm. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. The end of the first battle, by the 20-minute mark, the alien fleet had lost nearly 80% of its ships. The survivors fled, engines burning, trying to escape Earth's gravity well. Should we pursue? Voss asked. Rain shook his head. Not yet. Let them tell the galaxy what they saw. Let them fear us. Part 2 ending Hookahs, the Sentinels. Return to standby mode, Erebus spoke again, its synthetic tone colder than ever. Commander, while analyzing their systems, I intercepted something. A transmission. Rain turned. A kind of transmission. Coordinates, Erebus replied. Their empire. Fleet reserves. They are planning a second attack larger, deadlier. It is already on its way. Rain's eyes narrowed. Then we strike first. End of Part 2. The Alien Fleets. Confidence cracked. Thousands of ships had entered Earth's orbit, but hundreds now drifted aimlessly, their power cores fried by the first pulse. Inside the flagship Harbinger of Dawn, Supreme Commander Zoreth's voice was sharp and filled. With fury, status of the fleet, he demanded. Shields are down across all formations, replied an officer. Power cores are unstable. We've lost 12 dreadnoughts and 240 strike vessels already. Zoreth's 4 crimson eyes burned with rage. Unacceptable. This planet should be ash by now. He turned to the holographic table where Earth's surface was displayed. Scan again. Find their weapon systems. This world should not have such power. The officer swallowed hard. Commander, there are strange readings. Massive energy signatures buried beneath their oceans, deserts, and mountains. It's like something is waking up. The command center beneath the Rockies deep, under the Rocky Mountains. In the fortified war bunker, known as Fort Exodus, Commander Rain stood in front of a glowing holographic map of Earth. His jaw was set like stone. All defense silos report readiness, said Lieutenant Voss. She was tall, dark-haired, with sharp eyes that reflected both fear and determination. Sentinel Helios is awake. Railguns are charged. How many alien ships remain active? Rain asked. Approximately 3,200, but half are already crippled from the pulse. Rain studied the map. He wasn't smiling. They thought we'd roll over, he said quietly. They thought Earth was weak. Let's prove them wrong. Helios rises beneath the Pacific Ocean, where sunlight never reached. Something enormous stirred. Sentinel Helios, the first of Earth's Black Sentinel. Warships, powered on. The machine was over a kilometer long, its black hull plated with materials stronger than any known metal. It had no windows, no crew compartments. It was fully AI-controlled. Helios Online, the mechanical voice of Erebus, the central AI network, announced in Fort Exodus. All primary systems functional, weapons charged. The ocean boiled as Helios ascended. Massive gates opened in the seafloor, releasing the behemoth warship. As it broke the surface, water cascaded off its armor like waterfalls. From orbit, the alien fleet scanned the rising shape. What is that? One alien officer stammered. We've never seen such a design. Zoroth's face twisted. Doesn't matter. Destroy it. The first Sentinel strike Helios locked onto the nearest alien dreadnought. A railgun cannon, spanning nearly the entire length of its hull, began to hum. Energy arcs crawled along its plating. In the war room, Voss called out, "Helios is ready, Commander." "Fire," Rain ordered. The railgun fired with a deafening blast. A glowing tungsten slug, traveling at 10 times the speed of sound, tore through the clouds and punched a hole straight through the alien dreadnought's shields. The ship didn't just explode, it split in two, each half tumbling in flames toward the ocean. The room went silent for a heartbeat, and Voss smirked. "First kill." Alien shocked. A harbinger, Zorith's voice rose into a growl. What did they just do? No primitive species can breach our shields?" "They've adapted, Commander," whispered his tactical officer. "Their weapons are advanced. Too advanced." Zorov slammed his clawed hand on the console. "Then fire everything. Reduce that machine to ash." The storm over the Pacifica, dozen alien destroyers opened fire on Helios. Plasma beams cut through the sky, exploding against the water's surface. Entire sections of the ocean vaporized, sending shockwaves across the waves. But Helios was all red. News of the Tharkon defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. For centuries, the Tharkon Empire had been unstoppable. They had crushed dozens of civilizations, their fleets feared in every sector. Yet on Earth, a planet they dismissed. As primitive, they had lasted only 20 minutes. In the dark halls of the Galactic Council, whispers turned to fear. "Humans," one alien senator muttered. "I thought they were nothing. How did they destroy a full fleet?" Another answered, voice trembling. "If they can stop the Tharkan, what else can they do?" But not everyone was afraid. In the Tharkan capital world of Karath, Supreme Warlord Velkar slammed his fist onto a marble table. His voice thundered through the great war chamber. "My brother Zorith is dead, killed by those savages. I will not let this stand. We'll burn Earth until its oceans boil and its sky turns to ash." A massive second fleet was ordered 10 times larger than the first, with new weapons, designed to tear apart planetary defenses. Back on Earth in Fort Exodus, Commander Rain watched the holographic projection of the fleeing alien ships. Last survivors of Zorith's fleet were already light years away, heading for their empire. "They'll be back," Rain said quietly. Lieutenant Voss crossed her arms. "We broke their pride. They won't forgive that. What's the next move?" Rain's eyes narrowed as he turned toward Erebus, the AI. "What are our options?" Erebus's voice was smooth and emotionless. "Option 1, wait for them to strike again. Build more sentinels. Option 2, take the fight to them. Crush their empire before they regroup." "Wait," Voss spat. "You saw what they did to New York, Moscow, and Shanghai? Millions are gone. We can't just wait." Rain nodded. "Then we prepare for war." The Sentinel fleet expands the black. Sentinels were already feared, but Earth had more. In underground factories buried beneath mountains, 3 new Sentinels were under construction. Sentinel Hyperion, a railgun platform capable of splitting moons. Sentinel Atlas, a carrier for AI drones and stealth bombers. Sentinel Nemesis, a ship designed purely for planetary destruction. "Helios and Ares are undergoing repairs," Voss reported. "Kronos and Orion are ready to launch in 24 hours. Hyperion will be online within the week." Rain looked at the holographic map of the Tharkan systems. "We won't wait for them to gather another fleet. We hit them first." Alien counterplants. Karath Valkar addressed his generals. "They think they have one. They think their small fleet of machines can stop us. We will show them what it means to defy the Tharkan." His fleet builder reported. "The new Devour-class battleships are ready, Warlord. Each is equipped with quantum shields and star crushers." Valkar sneered. "Send them all. I want Earth gone." But even as the Tharkan prepared, their spy network brought chilling news. "Warlord, the humans have left their planet. Their black ships are coming." The hunt begins. Commander Rain stood aboard Helios as it ascended into orbit. Unlike traditional ships, the Sentinels didn't need a Crowanly Rain and a small tactical team to oversee the AI. All units Report in, Rain said, overcomes. Ares online, weapons hot, Kronos engines at full capacity, Orion drones ready to deploy. The Sentinel fleet, now 5 strong, assembled above Earth. Their black holes reflected the light of the sun, giving them the look of shadows carved from stone. Target locked, Erebus announced. The enemy survivors are heading for Outpost Atenine. Shall we pursue? Yes, Rain said. No survivors. The first ambush the Sentinel fleet jumped through artificial wormholes of technology. Earth had secretly developed after studying alien ruins decades earlier, when they emerged near Atenine. The surviving alien ships were not prepared. Unknown. Signals. Unknown ships approaching. One alien screamed. Helios fired first. A single railgun shot shredded to destroyers. Orion's drones swarmed the outpost, disabling its defenses. Within 6 minutes, the entire outpost was destroyed. Rain's message was broadcast on all channels. This is Earth. You started this war. We will end it. The fear spreads across nearby alien colonies. The name Earth became a curse. Right. Merchants refused to trade near human space. Smugglers whispered about black war machines that appeared without warning and destroyed entire fleets in minutes. Some alien species even tried to surrender, sending messages of peace. But Rain wasn't interested in diplomacy, not yet. The debate on Earth, while Rain pushed for total war. Earth's leaders were divided. The president of the Unified Earth Council appeared on secure cooms. Commander Rain, you've already struck at alien outposts. We don't know how large their empire is. We risk provoking a galactic war. Rain's reply was calm but firm. They already started it. Millions of our people are dead. Do you want to wait for their next fleet? Because I won't. Erebus cut in. Analysis predicts a 97% chance of a second invasion if we remain passive. Preemptive strike is optimal.
After a long silence,
The president said. Then you have our full authority, Valkas. Fury when Valka learned. Of the attack on Atenine, his rage was unstoppable. Those humans dare strike first. Fools. Deploy the Blood Armada. I want every warship we have mobilized now. His generals hesitated. Warlord, our fleets are not ready for a prolonged war. Their technology silence. Valkar roared. We are the Tharkan. No primitive species will defy us. But even Valkar could feel a creeping fear. No one had ever destroyed Tharkan warships so easily. Earth's final preparations back on Earth. The construction of Hyperion was completed ahead of schedule. The ship's railgun was so large it could pierce a planet's crust with one shot. Hyperion is ready, Voss said. Rain stood before the hologram of the galaxy. Then we begin Phase 2. We strike at their heart. Part 3 ending hook, as the Sentinel fleet prepared for the long journey into enemy territory. Erebus intercepted a transmission from deep space. Commander, it said, I have found something disturbing. The Tharkan are not the only threat. Another fleet, far larger, is moving through the outer rim. It's not theirs. It's something else. Rain stared at the dark hologram of the unknown fleet. Then we take them all down, he said. But first we burn the Tharkan. End. Of Part 3, above Earth, 7 black sentinels now orbited like silent titans. Helios, Ares, Kronos, Orion, Hades, Valkyrie. The newly completed Hyperion formed a fleet that no one on Earth thought could exist. Each sentinel was a moving fortress, black, sharp-edged, and bristling with weapons. Together they looked like a wall of darkness against the sunlight. Commander Rain stood in the command bay of Hyperion, the largest of all sentinels. The floor beneath him hummed with power, the railgun cores warming up for their first test. Fleet status, Rain said, his voice calm but carrying the weight of command. Lieutenant Voss, standing at the tactical console, replied. All sentinels at full strength. Drone wings prepped and loaded. Hyperion's Omega rail is 100% charged. Rain nodded. Then we begin. The plan in Fort Exodus, Earth's. War Council watched a holographic projection of the Tharkan Empire. The empire was massive, spanning over 60 star systems. But its heart, the capital system of Karath, was vulnerable. They have gathered a blood armada, Voss explained, her tone sharp. Over 5,000 warships, including new Devour-class battleships. If we wait, they'll come for Earth again. Rain's eyes hardened. We hit them before they finish gathering. We take their capital. We send a message they'll never forget. The president of the Unified Earth Council appeared via secure transmission. Commander, a network error occurred. Please check your connection and try again. If this issue persists, please contact us through our help center at help.openai.com.retryu. Said Part 5. Long Chat GPT said. Here's Part 5. About 2,000 plus words. Of your story, the alien war was over in 20 minutes because Earth chose total destruction. It's written in third-person style, simple English, with suspense and action. To keep the audience hooked? Part 5. Shadows beyond the war, the unexpected arrival, the void above Karath. Burned with wreckage-broken Tharkan ships floated like dead giants, and the Sentinel fleet stood victorious. But the celebration lasted only seconds. Commander? Erebus said, its synthetic voice sharp and cold. I am detecting hyperspace ruptures, massive ones. 74 separate jump points. Rain's eyes narrowed. Tharkan reinforcements? No, Erebus replied. Their signature is different. Unknown origin, unknown technology. Lieutenant Voss looked up from her console. There. Coming out of warp now, the blackness of space tore open. Colossal ships emerged, each one dwarfing even Hyperion. They were shaped like blades with holes glowing faintly as if alive. The smallest was the size of a mountain. The largest could have swallowed a city whole. The Cums went silent. Even Valkar's voice vanished. On the Iron Fang, fear swept across the Tharkan ranks. What? What is that? Whispered a Tharkan officer. Valkar's face twisted into confusion. Not ours. Not any fleet I've seen. The first contact, one of the alien blade ships, turned, and a pulse of strange sound echoed through every frequency. It wasn't a message. It was more like a scream. Erebus immediately began decoding. Commander, their language is odd. It's not just communication. It's a weaponized sound wave. They're testing us. A moment later, the blade ships opened fire. But it wasn't like plasma or railguns. Beams of dark energy tore through the void, shredding several crippled. Tharkan vessels instantly. Valkar roared in fury. They dare fire on me? All ships retaliate. The Tharkan Blood Armada opened fire, but the void above Karath, burned with wreckage-broken Tharkan ships, floated like dead giants. And the Sentinel fleet stood victorious. But the celebration lasted only seconds. Commander Erebus said, its synthetic voice sharp and cold. I am detecting hyperspace ruptures, massive ones. 74 separate jump points. Rain's eyes narrowed. Tharkan reinforcements? No, Erebus replied. Their signature is different. Known origin, unknown technology. Lieutenant. Voss looked up from her console. They're coming out of warp now. The blackness of space tore open. Colossal ships emerged, each one dwarfing even Hyperion. They were shaped like blades with holes glowing faintly as if alive. The smallest was the size of a mountain. The largest could have swallowed a city whole. The Cums went silent. Even Valkar's voice vanished. On the Iron Fang, fear swept across the Tharkan ranks. What? What is that? Whispered a Tharkan officer. Valkar's face twisted into confusion. Not ours. Not any fleet I've seen. The first contact, one of the alien blade ships, turned, and a pulse of strange sound echoed through every frequency. It wasn't a message. It was more like a scream. Erebus immediately began decoding. Commander, their language is odd. It's not just communication. It's a weaponized sound wave. They're testing us. A moment later, the blade ships opened fire. But it wasn't like plasma or railguns. Beams of dark energy tore through the void, shredding several crippled Tharkan vessels instantly. Valkar roared in fury. They dare fire on me? All ships retaliate? The Tharkan Blood Armada opened fire, but their weapons did nothing. The dark ship's hulls seemed to drink the energy. It's absorbing it. The brief Alliance commander Rain Voss said grimly, if we don't act fast, They'll cut through both fleets. Rain's gaze shifted to the iron fang on his tactical display. Patch me through to Valkar. Seconds later, the Tharkan warlord's face filled the screen, angry, but alive. Human Valkar spat. Is this your doing? Rain replied flatly. If you don't want to die in the next 10 minutes, you'll listen to me. We fight them together, Valkar snarled, his pride wounded. I do not ally with primitives, Rain said. Then watch. Your empire burn. Valkar hesitated, his eyes flicking to the dark ships tearing apart his remaining cruisers. After a long moment, he growled, Very well, temporary alliance. When they're gone, I will finish what I started with Earth. Quiet. Rain said coldly, You won't live long enough. Preparing for the unknown, the Dark Fleet's weapons tore through space with unnatural speed. Hyperion's shields flickered under a single glancing hit, shaking the entire warship. Shields down to 80%, Erebus warned. They hit harder than the Tharkan, Voss muttered. Erebus scanned their ships. Find me a weakness, Rain. Ordered. Scanning. Results inconclusive. Their hulls are made of unknown matter. It absorbs kinetic and plasma energy. Rain cursed under his breath. Then we hit them harder. All sentinels fire at will. The first Clash Hyperion's Omega Rail fired a tungsten slug at near light speed. The shot slammed into one of the blade ships, sending ripples through its glowing hull. But instead of breaking, the alien ship healed. The black surface closed like living tissue. They're repairing themselves, Voss shouted. Helios's drones swarmed the nearest ship, blasting it with missiles. The explosions lit the void. But again, the alien hull regenerated. They're alive, Erebus said quietly. These ships, they're not machines. They're organisms. Valkar's counterattack on the Iron Fang. Valkar unleashed his fury. Load the gravitic lances. Fire, Tharkan heaviest. Weapons massive, rotating cannons launched beams of concentrated gravitational force. One of the blade ships was crushed inward, its hull warping. But as soon as the Tharkan cheered, ship reformed, pulling itself back together. Impossible, Valkar whispered. What kind of monsters are these? The Plan Rain's mind raced. Can't outgun them, he said. We need to think smarter. Erebus processed millions of scenarios in seconds. Commander, these ships feed on energy. But I've detected a fluctuation, a moment of weakness when they regenerate. If we time our strikes, we may breach their cores. Then we hit them in waves, Rain said. Tharkan first, then Sentinels. Voss grinned. Let's see if they can survive a real Terran storm. The first kill, Rain coordinated with Valkar through gritted teeth. On my mark, you fire everything you have. When they start regenerating, we'll finish them. Valkar's voice growled through the coms. Do not fail me, human. First volley began. Thousands of Tharkan weapons fired at a single blade ship. Its hull rippled, trying to heal. Now, Rain shouted. Hyperion, Helios, and Ares fired together. The combined force of 3 railguns tore through the regenerating hull, piercing deep into the alien ship's core. It didn't heal this time. Instead, it erupted in a blinding explosion. Fragments scattering like burning shards. The entire battlefield froze for a second. Voss smirked. Guess they can bleed. The retaliation, but the Dark Fleet didn't retreat. Instead, they changed tactics. Commander Erebus warned, they're adapting. Their energy beams are charging at double capacity. A single shot from one of the alien ships hit a Tharkan cruiser, disintegrating it instantly. Another beam grazed Ares, cutting deep gouges into its armor. Shields at 50%, Erebus reported. They're learning, Rain muttered. A dangerous Adaptability suddenly spoke. Commander, I have a suggestion. If we overload the Omega Rail's core, we can fire a single shot powerful enough to annihilate their flagship. Overload? What's the risk? Complete destruction of Hyperion, Erebus said without hesitation. The bridge went silent. Voss looked at Rain. Sir, if we don't stop them now, Earth is next. The temporary truce, Valkar's voice crackled over comes again. Human, What are you planning? These creatures are tearing through my fleet. Rain took a breath. We have one shot. We need your ships to buy us time. Valkar hesitated, pride warring with survival. You want my fleet to die? For your weapon? You want to live? Rain shot back. Then hold them. The Sentinels fell into formation around Hyperion, defending it as the railgun charged. The energy levels spiked so high that even Erebus warned of imminent failure. 30 seconds to overload, Voss said. Sweat ran down her face. If this doesn't work, it will. Rain cut in. His voice was steady, though his eyes betrayed the weight of the moment. Part 5 ending hooked the blade ships moved in, firing dark beams that lit the void like cracks in reality. Tharkan ships were torn apart. Sentinel shields flickered. 5 seconds, Erebus counted. 4, 3. Suddenly, the largest blade ship turned its weapons directly on Hyperion. A wave of black energy surged forward like a living storm. Fire. Rain shouted. The screen fades to white as the Omega rail untith Omega. Rail on Hyperion fired. The shot wasn't like normal weapons. It wasn't just light or sound. It was raw force, tearing space itself apart as it left the barrel. Core spat out a tungsten slug wrapped in magnetic storms, moving so fast that reality seemed to bend around it. The largest blade ship, an alien titan with a hull like living. Obsidian took the full impact. For a heartbeat, it did nothing. Then its black surface rippled and cracked, like shattered glass, and then it screamed. Not in sound, but in a psychic wave that hit every ship. Shaking minds as well as hulls, Voss clutched her head, gasping. It's inside my mind. Make it stop, Erebus, Rain barked. Unknown phenomenon, the AI replied coldly. The entity is alive. It is dying. The alien titan's hull burst apart, its fragments burning like falling meteors. The first victory, the aftershock status, Rain demanded. Hyperion's core is unstable, Erebus reported. Weapons offline. Shields at 10%. Hull damage at 23%. We cannot fire another shot of that magnitude without total destruction. Voss looked at the burning wreck of the alien titan. But it worked. We killed it. Rain didn't answer. He stared at the remaining blade ships. There were still over 50 of them, and now they were angry. The dark fleets counterattacked. The alien fleet surged forward like a tidal wave. Their weapons fired beams of compressed darkness that ripped through everything in their path. Tharkan carrier exploded into a cloud of fire. Another cruiser split in half. Elkar's voice roared. Through open comes. Human, do you see? Even your monstrous ships can't stand against this enemy. We're all going to die unless we retreat. Retreat? Rain growled. Oh, we fight. Sentinel desperation with Hyperion's Omega rail offline. The other Sentinels took the lead. Ares fired plasma lances, cutting deep gouges into one blade ship's side. Helios launched a drone swarm. Its eye-controlled fighters striking like angry wasps. Kronos used gravitational mines, tearing smaller alien craft into fragments. But the Dark Fleet adapted. The blade ships began absorbing the drones into their hulls, consuming them like prey. They're learning, Voss muttered. Every second they're learning how to counter us. Valkar's reluctant respect on the Iron Fang. Valkar stood on his command bridge, his crimson eyes fixed on the Sentinels. He had hated humans, but watching them fight, they're fearless, one of his officers whispered. Valkar snarled, though softer this time. They fight like beasts. I'll give them that. For the first time, Valkar opened a private channel to Rain. Human commander. We cannot win this battle divided. I propose a pact. Temporary. Gave a bitter smile. You mean you'll follow my lead? Valkar hissed, but said nothing. His silence was answer enough. The battlefield above Karath was a graveyard of wrecked ships and drifting metal. Broken Tharkan cruisers floated alongside the shattered remains of alien blade ships. The Black Sentinels, though battered, still stood like silent giants. On. The Hyperion commander Rain stood on the main deck, watching the distant stars. His face was set like stone. The silence after battle was always the heaviest too heavy. Commander, Erebus said, its cold synthetic voice echoing through the bridge. My scans confirm Valkar's claim. The energy signals we are detecting, they come from outside this galaxy. Rain turned sharply. Outside. How far? Unknown, Erebus replied. But the incoming fleet is massive. I have identified 12 hyperspace breaches forming simultaneously in distant sectors. Lieutenant Voss glanced. At the tactical map, her face pale. If they're as strong as the ones we just fought, they'll crush us. Rain finished, his voice flat. An unlikely meeting a communication request came through from the Tharkan flagship. Iron Fang. Valkar's crimson eyes glared through the holodisplay. You fight well, human. But if we stay divided, the next wave will kill us both. Rain smirked, though his eyes held no humor. You want an alliance? You tried to burn Earth into ash? Valkar growled. I fight my enemies. But these things, they're not enemies. They're extinction. There was a long silence before Rain spoke again. Fine, temporary alliance, but cross me and I'll finish you myself. Valkar grinned, showing razor-sharp teeth. Let's see who survives long enough for that. The War Council, for the first time in history, humans and Tharkan warriors sat at the same table. A secure chamber aboard Hyperion was filled with tension. Even the air felt heavy as Valkar entered, flanked by 2 of his armored guards. The Unified Earth Command patched into the meeting via hololink. Generals and leaders from Fort Exodus watched silently as 2 enemies planned side by side. Have less than 4 days before the next fleet arrives, Voss said, pulling up star charts. Erebus estimates at least 300 blade ships, possibly more. Valkar's claws scraped against the table as he studied the map. 100. That's only the first wave. The ancient legends of my people speak of the Nyx Swarmer race that consumes galaxies. I did not believe it, until now. The truth of the Nyx Swarm Erebus interrupted. Analysis of the fallen blade ship fragments confirms they are partly organic. They are not ships as we know them, but living war machines. Their energy cores are symbiotic life forms. They feed on any power, they consume plasma, fusion, even solar radiation. And they're coming for our stars, Rain muttered. They will drain your sun dry, Valkar growled. And when your world is dark and cold, they will strip it to the bone. The room went silent. Forging the plan, then we hit them first, Rain said, breaking the silence. We take the fight to them before they reach Sol, or your empire. Valkar raised a brow, a preemptive strike. With what fleet? Half of my ships are wrecked. Your sentinels are powerful but few. We cannot face hundreds of these monsters. Head-On Rain's lips curved into a grim smile. Who said anything about Head-On? Project Prometheus Erebus projected a design something Earth had never dared to use. A superweapon, built long ago in secret under the oceans of Earth. This is Prometheus Protocol, Erebus explained. A weapon capable of creating an artificial black hole. It was abandoned due to ethical concerns. Ethics. Valkar snarled, You humans still talk of ethics when your survival is at stake. Rain ignored him. If we deploy Prometheus inside the heart of their swarm, we can take out their entire fleet. But to use it, we'll need to get close inside their formation. Voss looked at Rain like he'd gone mad. Sir, that's suicide. Maybe, Rain said, his tone calm. But it's the only shot we have. Training for Wartha next hours were chaos. Tharkan engineers worked side by side with human technicians to repair the Sentinels. Orion deployed its drones to scout distant sectors, searching for signs of the approaching swarm. Valkar personally oversaw the refitting of his blood armada, his warriors roaring chants of war as they prepared for one last stand. For the first time, humans and Tharkan trained together. They learned each other's tactics, weapons, and weaknesses. Suspicion still hung in the air, but survival forged bonds where diplomacy had failed. The signal then? On the second day, Orion's drones detected movement in the void. Commander, Erebus said, its voice low. The swarm is closer than predicted. They've accelerated. We have less than 48 hours. The War Council gathered again. The holomap showed a storm of signals, each one a blade ship. Moving like a living hive, Valkar stared at the map in silence, then spoke. Even with Prometheus, we may not survive. But I'd rather die in battle than watch my empire burn. Earth's leaders sent a final message to Rain Commander. The president of the Unified Earth Council said, "You have full authority. The fate of humanity is in your hands. Whatever you need, take it." Rain closed the transmission and turned to his crew. "You heard them. We're not just fighting for Earth now. We're fighting for every world these things will destroy." Smiled grimly. "Then let's make them regret coming here." The calm before the storm, the night before the battle. Hyperion drifted silently above the burned world of Karath. The stars looked cold and distant. Rain stood alone in the observation deck, staring at the wreckage of alien ships that floated like dead whales in the void. Voss approached quietly. "You think we can win?" Rain didn't look at her. "I don't know, but I know this Earth doesn't kneel. It's not to the Tharkan, not to these monsters. If we fall, we'll take them with us." Part 7 ending. Hukarabis interrupted the silence, Commander. The Nyx swarm has entered sensor range. Its estimated fleet size, 412 ships. Their leader's signature is massive, much larger than any we've faced. Rain's jaw tightened. Then we end this. The camera would fade out on the image of the Sentinel fleet and the Tharkan armada, side by side, preparing for the largest battle in history. The edge of the Karath system darkened not with night, but with shadows. Hundreds of glowing shapes emerged from hyperspace, ripping through reality like tearing cloth. "Contact," shouted Voss. Her voice trembled, but her hands moved fast across the controls. 430 ships detected. And something bigger, much bigger. On Hyperion's tactical display, the Nyx swarm looked like a storm front. Their blade ships moved like predators, each radiating energy that bent light. But at the center, a colossal entity hovered its size, dwarfing even the largest Tharkan. "Dreadnought, Commander," Erebus said with icy calm. "The central entity is approximately 60 kilometers long. Energy readings indicate it may act as a hive mind for the swarm." Rain's jaw tightened. "Then that's our target." First contact, the Nyx swarm struck first. Dark energy beams lanced through the void, cutting apart Tharkan frigates like paper. Explosions rippled across the battlefield. Screams filled the comms as the first wave of Allied ships was wiped out in seconds. "Shields holding at 90%, Voss reported. "Return fire," Rain barked. Hyperion's railgun thundered, launching slugs that tore into the nearest blade ships. Ares and Kronos joined in, their weapons lighting up space with burning plasma. Valkar's iron fang roared forward, its gravitic lances ripping two blade ships apart. The Tharkan warlord's voice growled over the shared channel, "Fight, humans! Show me your fury!" The living storm, but the swarm didn't break. It adapted. The blade ships shifted formation, weaving like living creatures, intercepting Terran shots and scattering Allied fighters. Every ship destroyed seemed to regenerate somewhere else. "They're rebuilding themselves from wreckage," Voss gasped. Erebus confirmed coldly. "Their hulls absorb matter and energy. Every piece of debris we leave behind strengthens them." "Then we hit them harder," Rain said. "Focus fire on groups of 3 or more. Wipe them clean." Prometheus is arm deep within Hyperion. Engineers worked frantically to arm the Prometheus device. Weapons so dangerous it had been sealed for decades under Earth's oceans. Prometheus core charged at 20%. Erebus reported. "Time 2. Full charge. 11 minutes. "Then we buy ourselves 11 minutes, Rain ordered. Commander Voss said grimly, "With this much fire, we might not survive that long." The turning point, the swarm shifted its focus. 20 blade ships converged on Hyperion, their dark beams battering its shields. Shields at 60%. Hull breach in Sector 12. Voss shouted. "Erebus, deploy auto-repair drones. All railguns fire on my mark. Rain commanded. Hyperions. Guns blazed, but the swarm didn't slow down suddenly. Helios intercepted, unleashing a wall of drones that swarmed the enemy ships like angry hornets. Explosions erupted across the swarm's flank. Commander Helios's AI reported, "We've cleared a path, but I've lost 40% of my drones. Keep pushing," Rain ordered. Valkar's charge of Valkar's voice thundered through the coms. "Human. Watch and learn how warriors fight." The Iron Fang plunged headlong into the enemy formation. The Tharkan warlord's flagship spun like a blade, firing gravitic lances that ripped ships apart from the inside. His war cry echoed across the battlefield. Even Rain had to admit it. He's insane, but he's buying us time. The hive awakens, then the massive central entity moved. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't even alive in a way anyone understood. It was something older. Something that felt like it had been waiting for this moment. "Energy spike," Erebus shouted. The wreckage of war hung in space like broken bones. Shattered blade ships drifted alongside the twisted remains of Tharkan cruisers. Even the mighty sentinels looked scarred, their black holes scorched by the hive's attacks. On Hype Bridge, Commander Rain stood motionless, his eyes locked on the stars ahead. The quiet felt wrong, like a predator holding its breath. Lieutenant Voss's voice broke the silence. "Sir, we've confirmed it. The Prometheus blast destroyed the hive. Every surviving blade ship went dead." Rain nodded, but his jaw stayed tight. An Erebus's signal report. Erebus, ever cold, replied. The hive entity transmitted. A long-range pulse before destruction. "I've traced it to multiple locations far outside this galaxy. The Nyx swarm is not local to our universe." Voss swallowed hard. "Then we just rang a bell for every monster out there. The survivors." Holoscreen lit up with Valkar's scarred face. His armor was dented, his eyes bloodshot, but his voice carried its usual weight. "Human, we survived. Barely. My blood armada has been reduced to 8 warships. Half my warriors are dead." "And yet you're still standing," Rain said, meeting the alien's gaze. "That means we fight again." Valkar gave a sharp, humorless laugh. "You talk like war is air. Do your people breathe battle like we do?" "It's only when we're forced to," Rain replied. His eyes hardened. "But Earth doesn't kneel." The Council's warning, a transmission from Earth crackled. Through, patched into the Hyperion's comes. The president of the Unified Earth Council appeared, her face pale but composed. "Commander Rain," she said, "your victory is being broadcast across the colonies. You've given humanity hope, but also fear, or deep space telescopes. Just detected movement beyond the Orion Rift. Something is coming. Something enormous." "How enormous?" Rain asked. Erebus answered for her. "Based on energy readings, at least 5 hives the size of the one we destroyed. Each could command hundreds of blade ships." The president's voice trembled. "You may have won this battle, Commander, but the war is just beginning." The rift in the Alliance, the uneasy alliance with the Tharkan, began to crack almost immediately. In the Hyperion's war room, Rain and Valkar faced each other across the table, their tempers rising. "You want us to stand and fight?" Valkar roared. "Your Prometheus weapon nearly destroyed us all? I will not follow a madman who risks my people's lives with such reckless tactics." Rain stepped forward, his voice like steel. "If you want to run, then run. But when those things consume your homeworld, remember, you had a choice." The room fell silent. Valkar's claws flexed, but his warriors said nothing. Finally, he let out a low growl. "Human, I hate you, but I hate those things more. Fine. We fight together. For now." A secret beneath Earth later. On Hyperion's command deck, Erebus revealed something new, something darker. "Commander," the AI said, "I have decrypted fragments of Nyx data from the hive's remains. I believe the swarm is artificial." Rain frowned. "Artificial? You mean they were built?" "Yes," Erebus replied. "Long ago. By something or someone older than any civilization we know. The swarm's purpose is simple. Consume all energy until nothing remains." "Would build something like that?" Voss asked, horrified. "Not who," Erebus corrected. What? I believe the swarm may be a weapon from a forgotten war. A war older than our galaxy. The plan for war with this revelation, Rain called a meeting of both human and Tharkan leaders. Hollow projections of star maps filled the room. Have two choices, Rain said, his voice sharp. We can wait for the swarm to come to us, or we can hit them first. Valkar tilted his head. Strike them, how? We barely survived one hive. Rain's eyes burned with determination. By building something bigger. Something they can't adapt to. Earth's sentinels are just the beginning. We'll need an entire fleet of Prometheus-class warships. Galka laughed harshly. Do you have the resources to build such things? Or the time, Rain smirked. We'll make the time. Forging the Terran Alliance word spread fast across the Terran colonies. Earth broadcast a call to every human world. The war for survival has begun. Stand with us, or face extinction.
Outrage.
Poured in pilots, engineers, soldiers. The scars of the first invasion were still fresh, and humanity's anger burned hotter than ever. Meanwhile, Valkar rallied his fractured empire. The Tharkan, once divided by politics and blood feuds, now saw the truth. These alien predators threatened everyone, slowly. A new alliance was born, one forged in fire and fear. The wreckage Speaksvoss and Erebus led a recovery mission too. The wreckage of the destroyed hive they found was worse than they imagined. Commander Voss said, her voice shaking, "You need to see this." On the screen, a fragment of the hive pulsed faintly with black light. Inside, something like a brain still moved, whispering strange signals. Erebus translated. "It is a countdown," the AI said. "The swarm knows we killed one of its hives. It is accelerating." The ghost signaled that night, as Hyperion drifted in orbit around Karath. Erebus intercepted a transmission. It wasn't coming from the Nyx swarm. It was coming from somewhere far beyond, a signal older than the hive itself. "Commander," Erebus said, its voice unusually heavy, "I've intercepted what appears to be a warning message. It's in no known language, but its structure suggests it's directed at us." "Play it," Rain ordered. A voice deep and distorted echoed through the speakers. "If you fight them, they will awaken. You do not know what sleeps beneath the void." The bridge went silent. The fear in the dark. Later, Rain found Voss, staring out at the wreckage. "Do you think we can win this?" she asked softly. Rain didn't answer immediately. His eyes were hard as stone. "I don't know. But I know this: if we don't fight, no one will. Earth was built on fighting impossible wars. This one's no different." The end of Part 9 hooked. The final scene shifts to the Orion Rift, far beyond the Terran frontier. A colossal shadow emerges from hyperspace, times larger than the hive they destroyed. Its surface glows with strange symbols, and countless smaller blade ships spiral around it like vultures. Erebus's voice echoes, ominously. "Commander, the next wave is here." Screen fades to black. The Orion Rift burned with light as something massive emerged from hyperspace. On Hyperion's bridge, silence ruled as the crew stared at the tactical display. Commander Erebus said, its voice unnaturally quiet, "The object is approximately 700 kilometers in length. Its mass is off the charts. It is not a ship. It is a world killer," Lieutenant Voss whispered. "It's bigger than any moon we've charted. How do we even fight something like that?" Rain's jaw tightened. "You don't fight it head on. You break it from the inside." The holodisplay expanded, showing the Colossus Hiva, living fortress with glowing scars of energy and thousands of blade ships swirling around it like hornets. The war councils. Final stand, the Terran Alliance's combined fleet gathered. Near the rift, 5 Terran sentinels led the formation. Hyperion, Ares, Kronos, Helios, and Goliath. 8 Tharkan warships, the last survivors of Valkar's Blood Armada, formed a brutal spearhead. Hundreds of smaller Terran and Tharkan ships filled the gaps. Every one a soldier in this final stand. In Hyperion's war room, Rain addressed the fleet commanders via hololink. "This is it," Rain said, voice hard as steel. "That thing out there doesn't negotiate, doesn't surrender. If it gets past us, Earth is gone. Every colony is gone. Every star system is food for that monster, Valkar snarled, and we cut it apart and feed it its own guts. Rain smirked slightly. That's the spirit. The last weapon. Project. Nemesis Erebus displayed a schematic that made the room go silent. This is Project Nemesis, Erebus said. A weapon Earth swore never to use. It is powered by a microsingularity, capable of erasing an object the size of a small planet. However, deploying Nemesis will require manual detonation. There is no safe way to launch it remotely. Voss's eyes widened. Manuel? You mean someone has to stay with it? Rain nodded grimly. It's the only way to make sure it hits the Colossus core. And if we miss, everything is over. The battle begins. The Nyx swarm moved first. Thousands of blade ships poured from the Colossus like living missiles, their energy beams cutting the void. Open fire. Rain roared. Hyperion and the other Sentinels unleashed their railguns and plasma cannons. Tharkan lances stabbed into the dark swarm. Space lit up like a storm, every explosion tearing holes into the darkness. The first wave of Nyx ships hit. Hard, a Terran destroyer was sliced in half by a single beam. 2 Tharkan cruisers collided with blade ships and exploded in fireballs. Shields at 70%. Voss shouted. Keep pushing, Rain yelled. We need a hole to the Colossus. Valkar's last stand. Valkar's iron fang surged ahead, tearing through the swarm. The Tharkan warlord's voice growled over comes human. Get that. Weapon ready. I'll clear you a path if I have to burn my last breath doing it. You won't fight alone, Rain replied. The Nemesis run deep in Hyperion's hangar. The Nemesis warhead was armed. The device glowed with eerie blue light, humming with enough power to crack a planet in half. Rain looked at his crew. This. Is it, once we launch Nemesis, there's no coming back? Boss stepped forward. Sir, someone has to stay with the warhead, let me go. Rain shook his head. Not a chance. I started this fight. I'll finish it. The swarm shifts. As Hyperion pushed closer to the Colossus, the hive reacted. Massive organic tendrils lashed out from the Colossus, smashing smaller ships aside. A single tendril caught a Terran battles.